Thanks for joining us. You're watching What Now. Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Precious Amayu. Now, African Union's Council for Political Affairs, Peace and Security has condemned Israel's recognition of Somaliland, describing it as a unilateral and illegitimate action. The reaction follows a visit by Israel Foreign Minister Gideon Saar to Somaliland, and that's days after Israel formally recognized the region as an independent state. During the visit, Saar met President Abdirahman Mohamed Abdullahi, with both leaders pledging cooperation in health, technology, and agriculture. The move has heightened diplomatic tensions in the Horn of Africa, with concerns over unilateral recognition of self-declared states, as Somalia's al-Qaeda-linked group Al-Shabaab has threatened to resist any Israeli presence in Somaliland. President Abdullahi, however, welcomed Israel's decision, calling it a historic step toward a strategic partnership. The situation underscores the fragile nature of regional politics and the complexities of international recognition. Right, for more on this development, I'm joined by Director Suriva Africa, Charles Inyakombo. He joins me from Nairobi, Kenya. Good to have you join us, Charles.
Thank you for having me.
So this recognition by Israel of Somaliland is generating not just continental reaction, but international reaction as well, with a lot of condemnation. What precedents does this set for the continent?
Thank you very much. This is a very highly consequential and destabilizing move, which goes against the long-standing African Union and the United Nations principles on territorial integrity and non-recognition of internal secession. We agree that Somaliland has maintained relative stability internally. That's accepted. That is very clear and commendable. But recognition by an external actor, really, especially without Somalia's consent, really sets a very dangerous precedence in already fragile Horn of Africa. If this is encouraged, then we are afraid that African countries will continue to, be more fragmented, and the kind of chaos and the wars that we are seeing in the Horn of Africa, in Sudan, in Ethiopia, and the security in Somalia may not really, maybe escalated. So it's one of the precedents that needs not to be encouraged, and the African Union has really come out clearly to condemn such moves.
And we've seen over the years how the Horn of Africa has become increasingly strategic, especially because of its maritime trade routes. What is Israel's motive for this decision? Just because now we're hearing about bilateral trade agreements and all, but beyond that, what do you suspect that Israel's motive is for this decision?
Yeah, it is true. Israel's move appears to be driven by strategic calculations. It has nothing to do with the legal principles, because if it had something to do with the legitimacy and the legal frameworks that are there, of course, the African Union, the United Nations would have been involved, just the same way when South Sudan was being fragmented from the larger Sudan. So from where we sit, we are seeing that Somaliland, being that it offers a geopolitical access near the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, this is quite critical maritime corridors. So it fits into Israel's broader effort to counter hostile actors and expand diplomatic footholds in Africa. And that is something that we have to take into account, because with the maritime corridors now captured, and of course with the visit of the foreign minister from Israel recently to Somaliland, it just shows that there is something more that Israel is looking into, especially as they set base into Africa. So the strategic interest that Israel have, in my view, should not come at the cost of the regional destabilization, because Somalia itself is already destabilized with the security and all that. And so they're trying to build to build back so that they come back to, stability. With this move that Israel is pulling on that side of on the Horn of Africa, really weakens Mogadishu's diplomatic position and complicates the internal reconciliation. And this already risks the effort that the AU has put, the UN has put to pursue the stability of Somalia. So I think this is more strategic to Israel than the interest of the people of Somalia and Somaliland at large.
And we see how, just especially in recent times, Israel seems to be redrawing its sphere of influence and alliance to suit its current interest. But in terms of this decision, what weight does it carry, especially in terms of, you've mentioned legitimacy earlier, and then, economic, just maybe economic weight for Somaliland?
Yes, but we also have the peace and the democracy of Somalia itself. With another external actor coming out, then out of nowhere, recognizing a specific segment of a country in Africa, really shows that there is complete, or rather no use of the existing laws, the national laws really that are being set aside currently. If you look at how Africa has been solving their problem, we usually come up with the African-led solutions that are legally backed and also regionally accepted. Even if this move is left unchallenged, in my view, even the current peace that Somaliland enjoys is going to be affected because Somalia is going to push back. So that deliberate destabilization of peace and democracy in Somalia is something that maybe Israel is looking at benefiting from, setting up their bases and setting up their presence, then to find a way then to to get into Africa and also take share, because you see the international powers, the West is really trying as much as possible to take advantage of the situation in Africa. Whether you look at the DRC, Rwanda issue, whether you look at the Sudan issue, taking advantage of such situation to either set their base and benefit from the resources that are there in Africa, or just enjoy the resources that the people of Africa, that Africans should really acquire. So it's more of a selfish interest reason, which is going to really exacerbate the situation in the Horn of Africa further.
And we've started to see problems already. Just recently, or today rather, Saudi Arabia had mentioned that one of the militant factional groups in Yemen had fled through Somaliland to get to his final destination, Al Zabadi. But I wanted to ask, just in the context of the African Union, beyond condemnation, which we've heard from the African Union, what can the Union do? I'm not sure if a reversal is possible at this point.
African Union should be more proactive in terms of, in addressing the issues of Africa, because just issuing statements and threats may not really help as such. And if other African countries will see that there is no deliberate attempt to really address this, then we are afraid that other African countries will also, Cameroon, Nigeria, Ethiopia will also follow suit. So there needs to be more engagement of the African Union, engaging the Somalia, section, and also the the Somaliland faction. If you also look at the United Nations itself, I think there's also need for international, intervention. Israel should be seen as a destabilizing factor in this era. So if African Union can unanimously, marshal up all the African countries really to condemn this, then of course, they have issued statement, yes, around not recognizing this move, but of course there should
Charles,
be more.
I have 30 seconds left, and I want you to, if you can answer this for me in 30 seconds. Do we have, as a union, have the leverage for multilateral and collective sanctions?
Yes, there there are, as a region, there should be, but of course, it should be done in a more African way, a peaceful way, because also if more sanctions are again pushed to the region, then the small peace that Somaliland has been enjoying is also going to be affected. So, there's a balance that has to be struck by the African Union. Should we continue to encourage the peace that Somaliland has been enjoying without actually, supporting the move of Israel? So I think there's still more deliberate ways in which African Union can still act swiftly, because if this is left unchecked, then of course we'll have decades of continental consensus and wars, which collective response now can be at least addressed in terms of the insecurity bit of it, and are trying to, in a way that we don't encourage other African countries really to follow the same suit of the Israel bits.
All right, thank you so much for your time as always, Director, Soriva Africa, Charles Nyakombo.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now, and when One Now returns, we will move from the recognition of a